Hey friends, Miss Table here. I'm ready to read Chapter 4 of Gooney Greene by Lois Lowry. Last time we met in Chapter 3, we heard a crazy story about how Gooney Bird moved from China to her new school, but it wasn't the country of China, it was a different city of China. So let's see what crazy story she has for us this time. Chapter 4. On Monday, Gooney Bird stood in front of the class when Miss Pigeon told her that it was story time. The children barely noticed Gooney Bird's clothes, even though she was wearing ruffled pinafore, dark blue knee socks, and high-top basketball sneakers. The second graders and Miss Pigeon were all much more interested in Gooney Bird's earrings. Think back to what earrings she's talked about before. I wonder what they're gonna look like. The earrings were dangly and glittered and were very large. Wow, those are beautiful, Kiko said in an awed voice. My grandma's house had doorknobs that looked like that, Tricia announced. And she has a sparkly chandelier in the dining room. My grandma's very rich. Do you have holes in your ears? Malcolm asked. My mom does. My mom went and had holes stabbed right through her ear with a needle. I did too, Beanie called out. I have pierced ears. Touch your nose if you have pierced ears. I do too. You don't have any earrings right now. So do I, Miss Pigeon told the class. She turned her head from side to side so they could see her small gold earrings. No, Gooney Bird said, my earrings screw into my ears. They have little screws that you can turn. Barry Tuckerman thrust his arm into the air and waved it wildly. Around him, other children raised their hands too. My mom has pierced ears, Barry said. Ben, Miss Pigeon said. My mom has pierced ears, and so does my grandma. Touch your head if you know somebody in your house who has pierced ears. All right, class, Miss Pigeon said. Does anyone else have something to say that's not about pierced ears? Because it's time for Gooney Bird to begin her story. All the hands disappeared except for one. Chelsea kept her hand high up in the air. Chelsea, Miss Pigeon said. My mom has a pierced nose, Chelsea told the class. Oh no, Kiko said. I'm going to be sick. Shh, said the other children. When the class was quiet, Gooney Bird began her Monday story. The Prince, the Palace, and the Diamond Earrings. Okay, I want to show you something. Notice how the Prince, the Palace, and the Diamond Earrings has capitals in the title. Why do you think the title has so many capital letters? It's because it's a proper noun. A title is the name of the story, so it has capital letters. Just like Gooney Bird Greene is also a proper noun. It's her name, Gooney Bird Greene. They're all parts of her name and the title of the story, so that's why they're capital, proper nouns. All right, the Prince, the Palace, and the Diamond Earrings. Once upon a time, before she moved to Water Tower, when she still lived in China, Gooney Bird Greene was on her front porch playing Monopoly against herself. Gooney Bird number 1 was the thimble and owned all 4 railroads and St. Charles Palace, which she liked because it was magenta. Gooney Bird 2, the car, was having a harder time. She owned Atlantic Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, and she liked the combination of yellow and green. She also owned Waterworks and the electric company, but unfortunately she was in jail. Suddenly, just as Gooney Bird number 2 tried unsuccessfully for the second time to throw doubles and get out of jail, she heard someone say loudly, "Napoleon is missing!" It was the prince who lived next door. Hands flew up, and Gooney Bird looked impatiently at her classmates. Are there really, really important questions you have to ask me, she said, because I've just barely started the story. One by one, most of the hands went back down. Miss Pigeon had picked up the encyclopedia. Gooney Bird, Miss Pigeon said, I have a feeling you know this already, but Napoleon Bonaparte, she turned to the class. He was the Emperor of France, she explained. Oh, Kiko said, I love emperors. Mrs. Pigeon, still looking at the encyclopedia, went on. Napoleon was born in 1769. That's more than 200 years ago. Miss Pigeon! Barry Tuckerman was halfway out of his seat, raising his hand. Yes, Barry. My grandmother once saw an emperor butterfly, but now it's extinct. Can you say that word, extinct? Do you know what that word means? It means they are no longer living. The dodo bird is an animal who used to live on our planet, but their species died out. There's no more. Just like the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs used to live here, but now no more. They are extinct. Extinct are when animals of that species are no longer living. It was a purple butterfly, Barry Tuckerman said. Gooney sighed. Do you want to hear this story or not? She asked. I can't wear these earrings all day. They're very heavy. Yes, we do, Miss Pigeon said. Please go on. Ready? Gooney asked the class. Everyone was ready, so Gooney continued. Gooney the prince called, sounding very distressed. Napoleon has disappeared. Can you please help us find him? Gooney carefully tucked all the Monopoly money under the edge of the board so it wouldn't blow away. There was a slight breeze, and she had problems with money blowing away in the past. She kept her own money collection, which she carried with her at all times, safely contained in a Ziploc bag. Then Gooney set out to look for clues that might reveal the whereabouts of Napoleon. Napoleon was not the Emperor of France. He was a large, black poodle. Every hand in the second grade classroom shot up, even Felicia Ann. I knew that would happen, Gooney said. I just knew it. Okay, time for an intermission. Miss Pigeon, do you want to deal with this? Miss Pigeon nodded. She thought for a moment, and then she announced, Every child who has a poodle, put your hand down. 4 hands went down. Now, Miss Pigeon said, every child whose grandmother has a poodle, hands down. 7 more hands went down. Every child who knows a poodle, who does interesting tricks or gets in trouble or ran away once, put your hands down. Other hands went down. Now there were just 3 hands in the air. Beanie, what kind of dog do you have? Miss Pigeon asked. A golden retriever. That's lovely. Ben, what kind of dog do you have? A corgi. Good. And finally, Tricia. I don't have a dog, Tricia said. I'm allergic to dogs. My mother said I can never ever have one, or even a cat, not ever, because they might have a terrible allergy and I could have an asthma attack. Then I would have to go to the hospital and go in an ambulance and we understand, Tricia. Now, let's go back to the story because we still don't know what happened to Napoleon or about the palace and the earrings. Gooney shook her head just so that the earrings moved and sparkled in a very glamorous way. Listen for the word suddenly, Gooney said. I put that one in the story already, but I like to sprinkle several in. Some other suddenlies will be coming soon. So friends, listen for that word she said, suddenly. That means when something happens quickly out of nowhere. Gooney examined where the prince's backyard was. She saw a place where the ground was disturbed by a corner of the fence. Look, she said. See that bit of dog hair caught in the fence? It looks like Napoleon's. See? She said next, pointing to where the earth was dug. Here's where Napoleon wiggled underneath your fence. What a good detective you are, the prince said to Gooney Gooney let herself out into the yard and through the gate. She sniffed. She listened. Suddenly, there's a suddenly, said Malcolm. Good listening, said Gooney and she continued. Suddenly, because all the clues she smelled and heard, Gooney moved forward. There, at the end of the alley, was an overturned garbage can. And inside, with his head in the can, was Napoleon, eating garbage. He had coffee grounds all over his face, and an orange peel was stuck on one of his ears. You naughty thing, Napoleon, Gooney said, and she took a hold of his collar, and Napoleon burped. Oh, no, cried Kiko. Not garbage, not burping. Shh, the other children said. Many hands were waving in the air. Miss Pigeon stood up. No stories about dogs eating garbage, she said. Not a single one. All of the hands went down. Please, please, please tell us about the palace And the prince and the earrings, Chelsea begged. Don't worry, I'm about to, Gooney said. Gooney took Napoleon back to the house. The prince asked Gooney to go to the palace for a reward. Did you get all dressed up in a ball gown? Beanie asked. Maybe a tiara, asked Tricia. I hadn't planned to describe my clothes, Gooney said, but since you asked, I'll add a little descriptive passage here. When she went to the palace, Gooney was wearing clothes from the L.L. Bean catalog. She wore island hopper shorts with front flap pockets and pointinelle knit top in sun yellow. The prince had rugged canvas shorts and a polyester and nylon pale khaki plaid short-sleeved. Malcolm disappeared under his desk. Ben picked up his math book and started to do some problems. Nicholas put his head down on his arms and closed his eyes. Gooney stared at them. Am I boring you? She asked. Yes, said the class. All but Felicia Ann, who was silent, and Kiko, who was not bored at all. What color were the island hopper shorts? Kiko said. Ooh, I hope they were blue. As a matter of fact, they were deep sea green, with true blue stripes down the side. I might wear them to school on Wednesday. Oh, good, Kiko said. I'll continue now, Gooney said. It doesn't matter what clothes the prince had on. The main character in the story is Gooney and that's important to tell a lot about the main character, because the main character is right in the middle of everything. All of the others are just minor characters, and it's boring to tell about their clothes. Or you could call them secondary characters, Miss Pigeon pointed out. Excuse me for interrupting, Gooney I'll just write that word on the board. Secondary characters. Gooney waited patiently while Miss Pigeon wrote, and then she breathed deeply as she was about to continue, and she looked at the class. She walked down the middle classroom aisle to Malcolm's desk and peered under it. Malcolm was asleep on the floor. Ben was doing his arithmetic, and Nicholas was playing thumb wrestle with each other. His left one seemed to be winning. This is my fault, Gooney said loudly. I have failed to hold your attention. Of course, it didn't help that Miss Pigeon interrupted, but I don't blame myself for not inserting enough suspense in the story. Stories need suspense, Gooney said, so I shall try to add some. Shall I continue with my story now? Yes, Miss Pigeon said. Yes, the children all said, except for Malcolm, who was asleep, and Felicia Ann, who never said anything. So Gooney continued. I'll start right off with a suddenly, she said. That always wakes people up. Suddenly, when they entered the palace, Gooney needed to use the bathroom. Malcolm woke up. He popped up from under his desk. I have to go to the bathroom, he said. Go, Miss Pigeon told him and pointed to the door. Malcolm hurried out of the classroom. Did the palace have bathrooms? Beanie asked. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to raise my hand, she said. Yes, Gooney said. The palace had 2 bathrooms, gentlemen and ladies. What about the diamond earrings? Tricia said. I'll finish the story now. Gooney said, when she came out of the ladies' room, Gooney Greene saw a gumball machine. In a palace? Kiko said. Shh, said the other children. Gooney continued. Gooney had not had a small gumball for at least 4 months, and she wanted one. She had brought her money collection, since she always carried it on her in a very heavy Ziploc bag. Her arms had developed big muscles from carrying the money collection all the time. Gooney stopped from the story for a moment. She held up her arms to display her muscles, and then she went on. Show me your muscles. Ooh, yeah. So Gooney took a penny from her money collection and put it into the gumball machine. Instead of a gumball came out a diamond earring. It was quite a pleasant surprise, and she screwed it on into her left ear. After that, she felt lopsided, but she could see there was another diamond earring inside the gumball machine, so she put in another penny. But she got a blue gumball. It's probably matching the true blue stripes on her sea green shorts, Kiko pointed out. Shh, said the class. Gooney put the blue gumball into her mouth, and it made a large lump in the side of her cheek. It tasted like spearmint. She felt double lopsided now. She took another penny from her money collection and put it into the gumball machine. This time she got a yellow gumball and she put it into her mouth. Now she had 2 lumps in each side of her face, so she wasn't lopsided. But her head still felt lopsided because she only had 1 diamond earring. She put another penny in, and out came a red gumball. She put that one into her pocket to save for later. But now her hips felt lopsided. She put another penny from her money collection. This time an orange gumball came out and she put it in her other pocket. So now her hips were not lopsided anymore. She still only had 1 diamond earring. Gooney stopped the story and looked at the class. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead now, she said. Miss Pigeon, is there a word for when the author skips ahead to some things in the story? Miss Pigeon thought about it. When an author jumps backwards, it's called a flashback. So maybe jumping ahead would be called a flash forward? Well, Gooney announced, I'm going to flash forward. After 20 minutes, all of the pennies in Gooney collection were gone, and the gumball machine was empty. Now Gooney had 67 gumballs, 2 in her mouth, 2 in her pockets, and 63 in her Ziploc bag. Also, she had a pair of very large, glittering, dangly diamond earrings, which she wears to this day. When they saw her giant diamond earrings, everyone in the palace, including the prince, 2 motorcycle guys, a lady in a wheelchair, all cheered. They hugged and kissed and did a short but beautiful ballet. The end. What a lovely story, Miss Pigeon said. And the flash forward was very effective, Gooney I'm glad you finally got the second earring. Gooney turned her head from side to side so her classmates could admire her beautiful earrings, and all of the children clapped. Did you ask the prince to marry you? Kiko asked. What are you talking about? Gooney said. The Pryns are already married. Mr. Howard Prynne is married to Miss Amanda Prynne. One of the Pryns plus the other Pryns equals Pryns. The Pryns live next door to me with their dog Napoleon. Oh, the children said. Their last name was Prynne. P-R-I-N-N. Barry Tuckerman jumped up, and he was waving his arm in the air. That wasn't a true story, Barry called out. I only tell absolutely true stories, Gooney said. How many times must I tell you? No, it wasn't, because I've seen lots of pictures of palaces, and they have throne rooms and red carpets, and people get dressed up in ball gowns. Barry, 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 Gooney said. What am I going to do with you? What do you mean? Barry said. You're talking about a small P palace, but I was talking about a capital letter ice cream shop called The Palace, where they have bathrooms, Beanie suggested, and a gumball machine, Chelsea said, with diamond earrings. Exactly right, Gooney said. She took her seat. Then carefully she unscrewed her diamond earrings. Ouch, she said. He's really hurt. Malcolm returned to the classroom. Did you get out of jail, Gooney he asked. Gooney looked unhappy. No, she said. Napoleon ate my Monopoly game. That is the end of chapter 4. It seems like Gooney is really silly and does a play on different words. I wonder what crazy story she will tell us in chapter 5. Bye for now.